Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now here's your host, Art Carlson.
Yeah! Welcome to another episode of Art's Place Conservative Talk. We've got a great show today. We are going to be talking about all the hot topics going on this week. We're going to talk about Biden's big speech about the economy. Woohoo! And then we'll talk about how they admit they accidentally killed one of our guys, one of our interpreters, who they thought was going to ram a checkpoint. But hey, the mistake was on them. And also, General Milley's call to his counterpart in China. We'll talk about that as well. I want to say hello to Steve Carpenter, SC Aerials. Welcome to the show. All right, let's get the show underway, and let's get my effervescent co-host all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Let's welcome Lloyd Mendenhall. Hello,
Hey,
Lloyd.
Art. How you doing?
How you
buddy?
doing?
I'm good.
Well, you sound good and you look good.
Well, at least I sound good. I mean, that's been my biggest trouble lately is get my sound to stay the same. So I don't know
Well, you
about
don't
the
look like a
part, but,
Smurf, and you don't look jaundiced either.
you know, I figured out it's the color of the shirt, and it gives a reflection. Yeah, I got to watch what shirts I wear when I do the show. I figured it out Friday, so that's why I'm using the powder blue. It seems to be a good color to keep my, keeps my face balanced in the right color. So audio is low. Okay. Well, I can crank it up, but let me see here.
Hello,
All
B-Mac.
right, let me.
Hey, Brian.
Well, I'm pegging it for all it's worth right now. So okay, here we go. Let me get the chat up. So all right. Well, I'll put my mic a little closer to my mouth, and we'll see how that works.
That might help.
Yeah.
With that big mouth of yours.
Yeah, I know. I just noticed something. I'm going to take that off because I need to change my logo. I still have remembering 9/11. I haven't updated that. Yeah. I forget to do that. Yeah. So
let's start off by talking about Biden's speech where he claimed this is the best economy in 40 years. You mean pre-pandemic? Maybe it was. But who was president then?
40 years, 2001, that would have been Bush, of course.
Bush, and pre-pandemic, that would be Donald Trump when we had a
Donald Trump,
roaring economy.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I mean, I was paying $1.69 for gas here in Oklahoma, and it's running right now. I bought it the other day. It was $2.69, so it's $1 higher than it was. I got notice from Social Security and the VA that we're going to have one of the highest cost of living allowance increases that we've had in close to 40 years. Yeah, I think it's going to be some upward. I can't ever remember it being above 5.5% increase, and I think they said it was going to be 7.5 to 8%. So
yeah, wow.
So
great.
That's just in a year that it's gone from it went from less, I think, right at I think it was a half a percent or 1% increase in cost of living, and it's jumped to now close to 8% cost of living increase, and they base that off of the cost of living going up. Yeah, 3.99 for gas. Yeah,
Yeah, it was as high as 369 here in Denver. That's what I was
yeah.
paying for. Now
We
it's starting to come down because
yeah,
after Labor Day, that's when they change over to the winter
winter
blend.
blend.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And personally, I don't see why we got to change our blend to meet what California's regulations are.
Yeah.
California had
Well,
their own had new.
I don't think so. I think each region has its
Yeah, own blend.
mandates,
Yeah,
or yeah,
yeah.
just
Here in
like
Oklahoma,
here we're a
eh,
mile high. We need a different blend than what you
blend.
would
Yeah,
need. Yeah,
yeah. And we do have a problem with the uh, ozone. You know, hitting that ozone peak because of the
yeah,
humidity and everything.
mhm,
High temperatures and humidity, we tend to have. Uh, we haven't had too many. We didn't have any this year, but a couple of years ago, we hit it a couple of times where we had to have the ozone alert, and we when you get in that area where we might get fined or might get you know put on the list, they try
right.
to like up in Tulsa and stuff. They try very hard to keep that, but it's still frustrating.
Hmm. I want to say hello to Drone Life RCs. Welcome. Also here in Denver, we get ozone, what we call an inversion,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
the way we're a mile high, and we get where the warm air gets trapped, and
Right,
that's
right.
where we get that what's called the brown cloud in the
Yeah, yeah.
wintertime. And this
I
year it's been really bad because of the fires in the west.
Yes, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I remember as a kid being able to look out from over there on 76th Street, uh, 76 and Zuni, and being able to look and see the sun shining on that gold dome, downtown Denver. But then by the time we moved away from Denver, which I think was 71,
Right?
it got this. By then we had smog, and you could just barely. The haze was so bad you could barely see it. But yeah, that was always something impressive because you go out there and boy, that light hit that gold dome, and you could see it anywhere from in anywhere in the metro area.
Right?
But
Hmm.
as of course, they didn't have all the restrictions they do now. I don't know. Has it gotten any better?
Yeah, it has. It has.
Okay.
Nothing like when I was a kid. We'd see that smog from downtown. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm. And yeah, when you left, I think we left a year later. We moved in '72. We went to Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah. We moved to Grand Junction in I think it was 71, if I remember right. I've slept since then, but
So
oh,
yeah, so Biden makes this big claim and doesn't take into consideration the high inflation that was
right,
incurred because of this pandemic, with the government injecting all this money, and plus the $300 a week sit on your ass uh, bonus from the federal
right.
government. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just I my question is who's in charge? I mean, who's coming up with this stuff? I mean, it's just like
Yep.
this this. Oh, it's frustrating. I could get
Yep.
on a rant over this guy, but it's just this is just such a clueless man. I didn't hear I've heard snippets of his economy speech,
Same here.
and it's like, it's why do I, because all he's doing is uh he's talking to his base. Nobody
Right.
believes him. Anybody that's got two brain cells to rub together doesn't believe what he says.
Yep.
Uh, he has been the most untrustworthy president. I mean, everything he says comes back and bites him.
Mm-hmm.
Give it 2 weeks, and they're going to suddenly find out that this is the worst economy we've had in since 1929.
Yeah.
But he'll find a way of spinning that.
Yeah.
He'll
Well,
find a way of
of
making it
course.
better.
What's
At least for
funny
him.
is the media is starting to turn on him. They're still, trying to protect him, but now they're starting to go like, the heck is going on here? I thought we elected a grown up. Instead, we got
Yeah,
grandpa.
yeah. The look, every so often you'll see Biden's plan is a
Yep.
continuation of Obama's. Yeah, quick way to turn us into third world country is to get us back up to double digit inflation. Yeah, I mean you add
Hmm.
inflation to the poor economy as it is, you know, uh, people are going to have to start making the decision on food or medicine. It's going to be
Hmm.
that. And I said at the start of this conversation that we were getting this pay raise, but this pay raise is done spent. I've already
Yep.
spent. I was putting back a year ago. I was putting back money at the end of each week. I was putting a little money back into my savings, and now I'm not putting anything back. I don't have anything left over at the end of the week because it costs so much. And
Hmm.
I've changed. We've quit eating out. I mean, I go to the last year. I was going to the drive-through for everything because I didn't want to. I didn't want to go into the stores, and we'd been going out, eating out or ordering out uh, for a long time. But under this economy, I can't afford, so I'm actually having to do some cooking at home now. So uh, don't believe the media is so much as turning on Biden as they aren't smoothing the way for super genius of Kay Harris as president. Yeah. Well, and I think there's probably some good point to that too, because
Yep.
uh, they're yeah, the media doesn't as they are smoothing the way to they know this guy isn't, and I think this was their plan all the time. I don't think they ever planned on Biden to be full term. I mean, they were talking about we were hearing rumors that he was only going to be a one-term president, and he probably wasn't going to make it through his full term. And I think we're at that tipping point. The problem is
Yeah, the
you know it,
alternative. We got
yeah, and that's
Harris, or how about Nancy Pelosi?
yeah. I saw I saw, where was it? I saw something about that, about Nancy Pelosi may be forced to step in at some point if both of them have to leave office at the same time, or they haven't
Hmm.
had a chance to. And that's the thing. Harris gets Harris gets put up there under the 25th Amendment, and then suddenly, or just because he quits, either way, that covers the selection of the vice president. If she doesn't have time to select the vice president before she's removed from office or has to leave or whatever, then
Right.
Nancy Pelosi steps
Mm.
in the conversation. Now, I can't see Nancy being there very long because she's as clueless as Joe is right now. I mean,
Yeah.
she's lucky to have two brain cells. She's getting so long in the tooth and decrepit, and what she does say is
Yeah.
unintelligent dribble.
Yeah.
She
It's. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and she's only pandering to the, you know,
Her base.
yeah, yeah. Well, she's not even pandering to her base anymore. She's trying to keep from having AOC and her crew uh,
That's
to put
true.
up somebody to face her that's
Mm-hmm.
more liberal than she is, so that they can get her out of office. Because as bad as Nancy Pelosi is as Speaker of the House, and she's terrible at it, she's still the only thing keeping those idiots in check.
Yep.
You know,
I
I
think
mean,
what might happen is I think the Republicans are uh, they're stalling right now, and I think they want to wait until after the midterms because
right?
they only need to pick up 5 seats in the House,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
take back the House.
Well, I'm just hoping that the Republicans aren't putting all their eggs in one basket, and they're not. You know, I'm hoping they're. I'm hoping we as conservatives will go out there and vote
Mm-hmm.
strongly, because otherwise we're going to be sitting in the same boat that California's in. Not only did they not get rid of Newsom, now he feels he has a mandate to go ahead and do his thing the way he wanted to. See, everybody loves me, so I'm going to do it my way, and that's what's
Yep.
going to happen if we
Yep.
don't, as conservatives, get out there in every single state and get
Mm-hmm.
rid of Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. But we got to make sure. I mean, who would be the Republican leader to step up and be Speaker of the House?
It'd be Kevin McCarthy. We don't want him in.
No,
He's an
exactly.
opportunist. He's a
Yeah,
rhino,
he
and
is. Yeah, and we
we
got to get
don't
rid of
want
these
him.
rhinos. We got to get. We
Well,
need.
here at Lloyd, this is the rub. You gotta have a broad, an open tent. Otherwise, we don't control any of the committee assignments. That's why we have to have, you know, different flavors of Republican.
Well,
Look at
yeah,
Susan Collins in Maine. She's a rhino. She's a very liberal because Maine would not elect a conservative Republican. Neither would California.
yeah. Well, there's a difference between I've always said there needs to be a balance between the House, the Senate, and the White House. We can't have, because one party controlling all three houses and the judiciary,
Mm-hmm.
that creates too much animosity in the nation. But there's nothing wrong with being a moderate. I mean, I think we should, you know, start electing people that are more the average person. Because I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative in most things, but I'm not a far right conservative.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm an average person. There's some issues that I'm probably considered liberal on. And now with me, I'm pro-vaccine, but I'm also pro-choice.
That's,
And
mm-hmm.
uh, which you can, that's something you can be. It's not like you can't be pro-life and pro-choice when it comes to abortion, but with the vaccine, you can be you know, pro-choice and pro-vaccine. I think
Right.
the vaccine, although we'll get into that in a few minutes probably. Uh,
Yeah.
but we've got to have people that are more rounded. So, maybe somebody's a little more liberal on social issues, but fiscally conservative, or maybe
Right.
somebody's
Right.
socially conservative, but they're a little closer to, you know, that's the thing. We need to be electing people that's closer to both parties. I mean, both parties need to.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have the far right, otherwise we have the National Socialist parties.
Right. Well,
Who
and that's
like,
why Donald Trump got elected
yeah,
because
because
he
he fit the average,
appealed to a broad spectrum. Except
right?
this last election, he could not bring in uh, white uh, suburban moms. They
Yeah,
hated him, so they
yeah,
either
and
stayed home or I've got a friend in Michigan. Uh, Her husband was my baseball coach in high school,
right,
and she hated Donald Trump. Thought he was just the biggest jerk, and said, "I'm voting for Biden." And I'm like, so you don't like more blacks and Hispanics working? I mean, what about the economy?
Yeah, well,
It's,
I use if my brother's watching, hey, but I use him as a reference point because we were talking before the election. He didn't vote for Biden. He didn't vote
right.
for Trump. He voted. He's pro gun. He's Second Amendment. He's a conservative, but he also worked 50 years in the union, so he's got that. He's the average person. He's a hunter. He's a fisherman. He's a shooter. He enjoys his guns. He has concealed carry. He does all the conservative things that you see on one thing, but on social issues, he's a little more on the liberal side. And he said he wasn't voting for Trump because he just couldn't stand to listen to him talk for another 4 years. Now, and I said, okay, well, who you voting for? He says, I'm voting for Harris because that old goat's not going to make
Oh,
it 4 years. And she says,
oh man,
at least
she's
she's better to
worse
look
than
at than.
Biden.
Well, I know that. I understand that, and I'm sure he does too. But yeah, and there again, he knows I'm pretty conservative, and he probably watches this show occasionally or sees it because I post on Facebook every week. So he may have been just jerking my chain, but he's a conservative. But as again, he's also a union guy. So
Well, there
and
were a
a
lot
lot of
of
people.
union people that voted for Trump the first
Well,
time.
that's true. A lot of people voted against Trump just because he annoyed the hell out of them, and that's
Yeah,
not the reason to pick a guy.
yeah. A
Uh,
lot of it has
yeah,
to do with his tweeting. Yeah, that was annoying, but there was a method to his madness. He was doing that to piss off the left, and the more
yeah,
he pissed
yeah. He
them
was
off,
giving them enough
that
rope to,
they got nuttier and nuttier. But
and they
because
showed
of
their true colors.
the but because of the liberal media, the networks,
Yeah,
the big
right.
three, they kept you know going after Trump,
Right.
and that translated into negative polling for Donald Trump.
Well, and we also had the split in the party. I mean, our own party was in disarray. Uh,
That's true. You had the Lincoln Project that hated Donald Trump, and
yeah,
then we found out later they were a bunch of pedophiles.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you got, uh, you've got, we had the never Trumpers that just, I mean, listen, he won the party nomination. And as
Hmm.
a party member, as a member to your cause and your beliefs, yeah, hey, I voted for. He was from Arizona. He ran for president.
McCain.
Yeah, thank you, God. I voted for McCain, and I couldn't stand that sob.
Yeah, same
I could
here.
not
Uh,
stand here. Eh,
the only reason I
the
voted for McCain was because Sarah Palin.
Yeah,
You know,
Sarah Palin.
if
Yeah,
he
that was the
hadn't
only
picked
reason.
her, I probably would have gone libertarian. Say, screw you. I don't like neither one. I definitely don't like the Democrat and this
Yeah,
idiot that's running. Ugh. And
yeah,
then
and
he screwed up his own campaign by when the housing crisis happened, he
right,
stopped campaigning.
stopped it.
He was on a
Yeah,
roll. He had the momentum going.
yeah, and McCain was probably the most liberal. Well, other than the next idiot to come along, that ran against Obama on the second time around.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh,
He's a
Romney.
Romney. Yeah, see, that's how bad Romney is. We can't even remember his name, and he was
Hmm.
probably next. He was more hated as a Republican than McCain was. As a
Hmm.
conservative. 'Cause
Well,
Romney
and
was
part
a
of the reason why he's more of a rhino is you got to remember he's a Mormon, and
yeah.
they are very family oriented, and they
Oh yeah.
think uh, liberal fiscal policy, that'll help the little guy.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, but that's the problem. See, we have these people that got elected. Yeah, you're right, Steve.
You're right,
Exactly. We need to
Steve.
get up.
I've been telling these people for the last 12 years, and then
We
Donald
spend
Trump did exactly what I was telling these folks.
Yeah,
Go
and
right
here's the
at
thing.
these people, and he showed them how it was done. He won.
What's amazing me is all the people that are riding his coattails now that he's out of office. They're all ready to get on his little bandwagon, you know.
Mm,
But where the
yep.
hell were they when he needed? Pardon me. When he needed their support uh,
Hmm.
during his administration and during his campaign, there were still those, uh, never Trumpers. I mean, I think one of the best turnarounds is probably Ted Cruz. He's
Yep.
really come back into being who he is. Ted Cruz is another one I could see running for president, and I would damn sure vote for him.
Or how
And
about the governor of Florida, DeSantis?
DeSantis, that would probably be the best overall team
Right.
to win. If and it's all going to depend on what Donald Trump does. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, he's dangling carrots out there. He might just jump behind them and put his money in his mouth and his tweets and everything on the
Right.
line to help these guys. And I think
Hmm.
that would be a win for the conservatives like we haven't seen in a long time. You know, because
Hmm.
we haven't had a clear election. We're this is still early. This is 2021, but we
Yeah.
need to start looking now at what's going to happen in another 3 years, because if we don't, we're going to be we're going to be standing around scratching our butts saying, "Oh, I just don't know what to do," you know.
Hmm. Yep.
And and but yeah, I mean, but I think the reason that, getting back to what we started about, the economy and Biden and all this, I think the reasons the Republicans are holding off is, like you said, they want to see what happens next year and
Hmm.
who they're going to get, who will be the Speaker of the House. I mean, I don't know uh, who who you think. Okay, yeah, I think Romney will be gone this next election cycle. His own
Uh,
constituents can't stand him anymore. Yeah,
well, that's true, Steve. But here's the rub: Salt Lake City is probably the most liberal place in all of Utah.
yeah,
So, uh, if whoever takes Salt Lake City and Provo, they're going to carry the state because Utah, their population is pretty small, and a
right,
lot of
right,
it is
yeah,
concentrated in that area.
in the
There's no
yeah.
other big cities like Colorado. You got Denver, you got Grand Junction, you got uh,
Pueblo,
you got
uh,
Aurora is the third largest city in the state. Colorado
is it really?
Springs is second largest,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean,
unfortunately,
you get
because of the Metro Denver area, is such a concentrated area that's gone from red to blue, and that's why Colorado is a blue state.
that's all that free pot you guys are giving out there.
That, that's true, and that was the I think that was the driving force that really got the state's economy going because that opened up another market. All these young
Yeah,
people from back east started coming here, and now we've got the biggest homeless problem we've ever had in this state because a lot of
well,
these young people they don't want to work. All they want to do is panhandle and buy more pot. Now they're making their own meth in their tents, and it's causing a big
yeah, you're right, Brian. Yeah, yeah. That's true.
mhm.
And and this is the thing we got to look at is, where uh well, Yeah, I in Oklahoma, of course, we have legalized marijuana, but it's only for medicinal. You
Yeah,
have to have a
yeah.
card. And the funny thing is have you guys? I don't know how it is in Colorado, but it's gotten to where it's not a big deal right now. We're not hearing about it. We actually they actually passed a new law and was signed into law, and they're required to the dispensaries. I won't call them pharmacies, but the dispensaries are. You read way too much dystopian fiction. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I watch a lot of that stuff. I watch a lot of those movies that have that idea. But
Like the Hunger Games.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the thing is here in Oklahoma, we seem to have, it seems to have dropped off. I mean, it's because they passed this law. I got sidetracked. Anyways, I passed this law. I passed. Jesus, I need to go back to bed. Maybe I should let my dummy. Maybe I should let the dummy do the talk because I think
Oh, there you go.
He'd make more sense.
This show
Anyways,
is brought to you by Prevagen.
Prevagen. Yeah, exactly. We passed this law in the state in which they have to track where the marijuana is coming from. In other words, just like you do any other medicine,
Mm-hmm.
like they've got to account for and track because the problem was they had a lot of people that were growing it in their backyard or out on their farm in the middle of the field and selling it to the dispensaries at a cut rate, and making good money. Well, okay, that's not medicinal.
Yep. Right, Steve.
Biggest problem here in California, contractors can't
Well, the
get people
same
to
thing
work
is
because
happening
labor is working.
here in Colorado because now it's legal that you can grow your own marijuana.
Yeah,
You just can't smoke it outside. If you have your own home, you could smoke it inside.
right,
But
right.
but you couldn't grow it out in your backyard. That would create a problem because then you'd have these stoners coming into your backyard stealing
Backyard.
your
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, we, of course, here in Oklahoma, uh, we had the dubious title of the meth capital of the world.
Mm.
Oklahoma, especially down
I
there
thought
in
that
the,
was New Mexico.
it is now, but uh,
I've
10
been
years
watching
ago,
too much Breaking Bad.
yeah, I know. 10 years ago, we had the most meth sold anywhere. We were because Oklahoma is kind of a crossroads of all these
Yep.
interstates.
Mm-hmm.
It's up near Oklahoma City. There's a sign where the geographical center of the United States, at least when it comes to the uh,
Right.
crossroads. And these truckers were coming in, picking up meth and taking it out. I mean, they were packing it out. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
beer for my horses. That movie talks about the meth that with Rodney Carrington and Toby Keith. That movie,
Oh.
they mention it then, down in the corner of Little Dixie, which is funny because that's where all the liberals are at. Well, it's not where they're all at, but they've always been more. But those were blue dog Democrats. But you know, we we had such a meth thing. Well, they started regulating a lot of the ingredients for meth. You know,
Yep. Same
and
here. You can't
so
buy over
once
the counter medicines anymore, like anything that has Sudafed in.
we can, but for some reason by regulating it the way they did for the longest time, meth has dropped off. Meth use and stuff has dropped off. So that's what they've done with the marijuana. They've done the same thing. You got to, all dispensaries have to account for,
Mm-hmm.
and they just a month or two ago, and about 3 months ago, just before this went into effect, they just got somewhere close to $3 million worth of marijuana that it was being shipped around the state or being brought into the state, and it was so that's why they really pushed to have this law passed and got it, because and we're not having that homeless problem, you know. but like you guys are, but we don't have it, where it's just not recreational. I think recreational may be coming, but
Hmm.
hello, Robert.
Hey, Robert, good to see you. Thanks for
Yeah.
coming. All
Anyways, we
right,
got
let's
way off
shift
topic.
gears a little bit. I forgot totally spaced this out. What about that recall election? What were the numbers? I never did get to hear. My suspicion is that Caitlin and Elders split the vote. Is that what
Yeah.
happened? I thought so. Never
Yeah.
underestimate how Republicans could screw up a good thing. If they would
Well,
have
and that's
just
it.
said, if the party would have got together and said, all right, now, elders, hey, we like you. You're a conservative, but you're not going to carry this state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caitlin, uh, you know, we think you have a better shot. All they had to do was broker this and say, okay, elders, how about we make you lieutenant governor? And we'll
Yeah.
have you
Unfortunately,
guys run as a slate.
yeah.
And that would have kept them from splitting the ticket. And I think they would have beaten uh,
Yeah. And
Knucklehead Newsom.
and that's the problem, though. We can't, you're in this party, you're either conservative or you're a rhino. We don't seem to have
Right.
any, and we're not what. Sorry.
Got a hair sticking
Oh hell,
out?
I just lost my earphone. Hang on a second. Let me put on this one.
Yeah, there you
All right, there we go. It's one of them days.
go.
Uh, anyways, we like you said, never underestimate the power of the Republican Party to screw up a good thing. We
I
do it
mean,
every
look at
time.
Colorado. Colorado is just a complete mess because we have two main factions. We have Rocky Mountain gun owners.
Right?
They're very conservative and they keep wanting to get their people um, running for office. And they keep losing because they run these people in districts that won't support a candidate like that. And then we have this
Right.
other group, which, what was that word? Oh, establishment Republican.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they want to run, you know, there are a lot of really good candidates, but they like to put these really squishy people in that turn around and they start voting with the Democrats who are in control right now and pushing their stupid liberal agenda that's going to end up uh, being more expensive and cost jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the problem, and unfortunately, this is the problem with the two-party system because we basically have a two-party system.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to think we're inclusive of all the parties, but we as a nation and we as states have a two-party system. I have a problem with the way our republic is set up, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. We're not a democracy; we're a republic.
Right.
And I I look at I look at the parliamentary system that's used in the UK
Mm-hmm.
and in Australia and New Zealand and places like that. They have the opportunity at any point to have their members of parliament cast a
No
uh,
confidence.
no confidence vote and get rid of them. That's how they get rid of their presidents, or their, in their
Mm-hmm.
case, prime ministers.
Right.
It's they have the same problems we do. They have
Yep.
you have the labor and you have the it's actually labor and liberals, but they're liberals aren't our liberals. Their liberals are conservatives. They're basically the liberals are you're
Classical
they
liberal.
believe in liberty. Yeah.
Yep.
They're yeah, they believe in liberty. That's what it stands for, and that means smaller government, and
Mhm.
you get to keep your
Like
money.
Margaret
But
Thatcher.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, but with our system, we don't, because I think if we had a strong third party, and I don't mean the libertarians because they're too far out there for me. They're just a little. They've got some
You
strange.
mean the My Rent's Too High party?
Yeah, yeah,
Have you seen that guy?
yeah.
He's got that boot on his head.
No, no, I haven't seen that guy.
Yeah.
But
My
I,
rent's
I, I
still too damn high party.
well, I just know, the libertarians I've been acquainted with. I just don't. I'm not going to say anything. I just don't
Yeah.
have. They're just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
They're
They want
they
a
argue for
hundred
the sake of
percent or
arguing.
nothing.
Yes, that's
That's
it.
that's their
And they love
problem.
to argue for the sake of arguing. Anything you say, they're going to say anything as a conservative or as a moderate Republican, even. Uh, or let's say you're just moderate on certain policies, they're going to argue against that. They refuse to, there's no give with them. Like you said, they want it all
Mm-hmm.
or they don't, it's either all or nothing, 100% or nothing. And that really screws things up. So we don't have a really good third party. The
Mm-hmm.
Tea Party movement kind of, it fizzled out. We
Yeah,
screwed
they
that
were
up,
more of the conservatives. They were more
right?
Republican. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they were. We need, unfortunately, there, and it's so embedded now in our nation's history now. It's so embedded. I mean, you go back to the early times. I mean, the Republicans were
they were the
they were a
Whigs.
yeah, they were the Whigs, but they were also, there were some other groups, and they all went together and formed the Republican parties,
Right.
or the Grand Old Party, and
Grand old
that
party.
was, but that was in 1850s, 1840, yeah,
Yep.
early
Well, the
1850s.
Republican
We
Party was established in 56. Can you
56, okay.
name the first Republican to run for president?
In 56, I know the first one elected, and that was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, but who was the first one to run for president?
I don't remember because I wasn't old enough to vote then.
John C. Fremont.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I knew, I should have known that.
Yeah. You should
Uh,
have known that. You were a
I
kid
should
then.
have known. Yeah, I know. But I don't remember stuff that far back anymore. It's just like I just barely remember Lincoln being president. That's pretty sad when you've lived through the assassination of two presidents like that. Actually, four.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was Lincoln, there was Garfield, there was McKinley, and then there was Kennedy.
Kennedy. Well,
Yeah,
and don't forget, Andrew Jackson was almost assassinated.
yeah. Well, close doesn't count.
He was shot, but with just a flesh wound,
Yeah,
and the guy
yeah.
tried to shoot him again, and the gun jammed, and
Right.
Jackson nearly beat the guy to death with his cane.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly.
And he was a
And
tall guy. He was what 6'5"?
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah,
was a tall.
yeah.
Even
Was it Andrew?
Lincoln was a tall guy.
Yeah, Lincoln was very tall. He
Mm-hmm.
and he had that, I forgot what that disease is where
Mirfan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Which he was lucky that how old was he when he died?
Oh God, let's see. He At the time he was the youngest president ever
President.
elected.
So
I think
he
he
was
was
in
in
his
his late 40s.
late
So
40s. That's what I was thinking. He was lucky to have lived that long with that because
he,
usually, he I mean Judy's family, she has one family, the whole family line for 4 generations has been wiped out except for two people because they have that, and they all had aortic aneurysms, every single
right.
one of them, and they're as early as 24 and as late as 57,
Mm.
you know.
Oh, he was 57.
No, no, I was saying that's how old the
Oh
family
yeah,
was that had
right.
that. And there's still one more that she's they've been tested for it, but
Okay, he died. Okay, 65 minus
right,
oh 09. What? Get your calculator out.
49. No,
49,
51.
51.
51. Yeah. Yeah. No. Uh, 50 54. I'm sorry.
56.
Yeah. 56. All right.
Yep. So he
My
served
math
two
isn't good.
terms. So he was 48 when he was elected. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. History is one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, well,
History
it
and
is mine
science.
too,
Yeah.
but my history has more to do. I've always loved English history, British history, and so American history always bored me to tears because that's all we ever talked about in school. It's like, okay, I understand, but you know, anything anything prior to the Civil War, I'm pretty good with, and of course with. But it's like once we got into the Civil War, I got bored with American history. But
So you're
uh,
up on English history. How many different dynasties did the English, you know, did they have? I could name a few of them. There was the Plantagenet.
yeah, the
That would be
Plantagenets that
they were the
was
Normans.
yeah, yeah. Well, you start with William the Conqueror. Well, I actually got to go back to Alfred the Great, but he was the king of Wessex and the first British king, first
Hmm.
all in, all encompassing. And I know that Queen Elizabeth is the 35th great great grandchild of Alfred the Great. So you got Alfred, and then you go to William came in 1066. So that was uh
And you had the Tudors, and
yeah, well, yeah. After William, William. Then you had the Plantagenets. Then you had the
yeah,
Tudors. Then you had the Stuarts. Then you had
Stuarts. Yep.
Stuarts,
And
and then
then
you
you
had
had
the
the Holzhauer Gotha,
the
which
who?
Elizabeth's family is.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah. The Germans.
the Germans.
Well, and and like George the First was German. He didn't even
Hmm.
speak English.
Hmm.
He had to have his wife uh, translate everything for him. And
Well, and Victoria's husband.
you got the Victorian era. You've got the Edwardian period. You've got then the Windsors.
The Windsors, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what happened after World War One. They renounced all their German titles
German
and
titles. Yeah,
and went with the Windsors.
Windsors. Yeah, they went to a because they were what is I can never pronounce it. Something. It's not Colbert, but that's the name that keeps popping in my head. That I just saw this the other day. But yeah, I mean, I can go like from Victoria to Edward to George the Fifth, George uh, Edward. There's Edward the Seventh. Let's see, Victoria, Edward the Seventh, George the Fifth, Edward the Eighth, who abdicated. Uh, then George the Sixth, then Elizabeth. And Victoria, she goes backwards to. She picked up after George the Fourth,
Mhm.
who was the uh, Prince Regent. He was the Prince of Wales. He took up he took over his father's position after his father finally died, and that was George the Third, who was Mad King George.
Ah.
So,
And that
and
is all for English history
yeah,
portion of the show.
yeah, but yeah,
All
Elizabeth
right.
is the 35th great great granddaughter of Alfred the Great, who was the first king of England, the first king of all of England, and he was a Saxon. Actually, the
All
first
right, let's close
Anglo-Saxon.
out the show with
Yeah,
what we were talking about before the show about how Biden administration finally came clean on oops, they did it again. They accidentally killed a good guy who they thought was someone trying to a car bomb or suicide bomb,
yeah,
and he was just there to bring
yeah,
water.
yeah. And if I know, I talked about it on my show, and I think we mentioned it a couple weeks ago on here.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I had heard that within 24 hours to 36 hours after I'd already heard this story, and
Wow.
I knew I was just waiting for it to finally get around to the main press, and finally the New York Times started posting stuff, and once they got on it, everybody else did, and then all of a sudden they had to come out. I think they're setting McKinsey up to take the fall for everything. Yes, this guy was he was an interpreter. He'd been one of our interpreters. He was an interpreter for one of the social groups. There were there were 10 people killed altogether. 7 of
Right.
those were children. They were actually his children. And there was no secondary explosion, like they said, because all of those were water bottles that he was loading. The reason his
Mm-hmm.
kids they came running to him because, hey, Dad's home. Let's go over, and they all ran to him, and they took him out.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that because like I said, I heard about it within the first 24 hours. I'll have to go back and look on my show, but this was strictly a thing to prove that for Biden to prove about his over the horizon capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that goes to show you how good our over the horizon capabilities are, because
Mm-hmm.
it was a total screw up. I mean, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say what I want to say. It's a Charlie Foxtrot of
And
grand proportions. And,
mm-hmm.
this ain't the first time we've done this. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
you know, I, our military, and who I feel bad for is, and not that I feel terrible for the family,
Mm-hmm.
and, but the person I feel bad for was the pilot. There
Oh
was
yeah.
there's a guy sitting there with his hand on that, ready to hit that pickle button, or the drop button to drop that bomb off of that drone. People,
Mm-hmm.
they think about drone strikes, uh, like, well, we launched a drone over there like a rocket and we drop. No, we send a unmanned aircraft over there with a bomb rack on it, and we drop a bunch of bombs. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, type of job I did in the Air Force was loading up, putting bombs on bomb racks, and they do the same thing on those drones because they're as big as an aircraft. They just don't have a cockpit in them. The
Mm-hmm.
cockpit's back somewhere else in the world. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel sorry for that pilot because now he's got to live with this. That they, no pilot wants to inadvertently kill an innocent.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't. And this guy's got to live with this. And
Mm-hmm.
but it comes down to the fact that we have we have an incompetent leadership in our military. They're just absolutely clueless.
Right.
They did the bidding of Biden. They did Biden
Mm-hmm.
bidding. you know
Biden
and
did.
which yeah, Biden bidding bid him.
Biden bit him, and they bought him too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You.
Biden bidding bid him. Yeah. And it did. It came back to bite him in the backside.
Yep.
Wow,
And
we're getting off the rails on this one. But anyways, uh it's just goes to show you that we've lost leadership in the military. But we haven't had decent military leadership probably in 75 years. I mean, I
yep.
hate to say this. There's been uh uh Schwarzkopf was probably one of our greatest
Yeah.
modern military leaders.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, Steve. I do. I feel sorry for that pilot because, we know a few guys in this community. One of them is oh God, he doesn't come around anymore, but he used to be on my channel a lot. Used to come into my chat a lot, and I forgot his name now. I'll have to go back and look it up. But
I am Wedge.
no, not him.
Okay.
But the guy he was with the Air National Guard
Oh,
over in Arkansas, and he was a drone pilot. He flew those drones. I say the Air
oh,
National Guard. He was with the Air Force. And it's been yeah, he kind of dropped out. He was doing a lot of videos, and then he kind of dropped out of the drone stuff. But
right,
I think his career was taking a change. He was trying to decide whether to stay in or get out,
right,
But and then there was the guy that was a guest on Ken Heron's show here a couple weeks ago. He's a drone pilot. Was it
right,
Ken Heron's
right.
show? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Ken Heron's
Hmm.
show. And
That was a really interesting guess
that
that
was
he
a
had.
probably one of the best guests he's had on a long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And but that's the thing. These pilots do this job. They can only do what their intel tells them, what their
Mm-hmm.
intel department tells. We have no intel on the ground over there. We still got Americans stuck there. Uh, you know, ISIS K. I'm not even sure there is an ISIS K.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was just when you take out all the CIA and troops, you won't have proper surveillance. And to
Right.
be honest
That's
with you, I'm not too sure we had good surveillance in the first place. The CIA and stuff, they were in it for the money. How
mm-hmm.
many former intelligence officers and stuff like this do we see on CNN and MSNBC? These guys were doing this to pad their, hey, look, uh, I've got an important position over here, and I've now retired, but I can come and be one of your advisors on television. You know
Mm-hmm.
what a crock. And we're going to continue to have this, and it's not just the Democrats; it's the Republicans are just as bad. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have, we need to clean house everywhere. Get rid of these, you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, it was a total Charlie Foxtrot, and somebody needs to pay for it. But I guarantee you, it won't be Millie Vanilli. It will be probably McKinsey.
Yep.
Oh, General
Mm-hmm.
Millie Vanilli is he's
Yeah. Let's get
and
somebody from ROTC to run the government. ISIS Biden. Yeah.
yeah, ISIS Biden, yeah.
Alrighty. So there's been a big shakeup in the conservative talk show here in Denver. Everybody's shifting around. You remember Michael Brown? You probably
Yeah, yeah,
remember him from the Bush administration.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
he's moving from afternoons to morning. He's doing 6 to 10 o'clock on KHOW here in
Okay.
Denver. He is really good. I like this guy. He's actually more libertarian than
Right,
conservative.
right.
And
Yeah.
Ross Kaminsky, who I used to listen to from 6 to 10, is moving to KOA. He's got the 9 to noon slot, which used to
So K
be Mike Rosen's slot
right.
back in the day.
I didn't know KOA was a conservative radio now.
Oh, yeah. They were, right after 9/11, they had all the conservatives on there. They had Rush
Okay.
Limbaugh, they had
Right, right.
Johnny Bob, and Mike Rosen, and yeah, so it has really changed up. And I
Yeah.
like Ross Kaminsky. he's also libertarian, but
Right.
I like him a whole lot better than that idiot Peter Boyles, who's got the morning slot from 6 to 9 o'clock, and the guy is in that. He claims he's a libertarian, but he thinks that Roosevelt was the greatest president of the 20th century. So
Yeah.
that tells me this guy Roosevelt is the one that prolonged the depression by several
Well, yeah.
years.
It was a world depression, but unfortunately, because of his plan and his way of doing things, we ended up spending another 3 to 4 years. So the rest of the world had recovered and was doing good,
Mm-hmm.
but ours was still our economy was still dragging on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see
And
who.
well, and Obama tried to do the same thing. He could have had a really good rebound from that housing crisis. And when was it? Oh 08.
Oh wait,
Instead,
yeah, yeah,
it was just a mediocre economy the whole 8 years. I was making more money during Bush than I did under Obama. I took a 7% pay cut. By the end of Obama's term, I almost got back to where I was when
right,
Bush was. But when
yeah,
Donald
yeah,
Trump took over, hey, I got raises and I was making more
yeah,
money
yeah.
than under Obama.
Okay, Steve, you take care. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
good to see you, Steve.
yeah. We have Brian Kilmeade in the mornings, and no, actually, was it Brian Kilmeade or Mark Kay took over for Rush Limbaugh? I think it was Brian Kilmeade took over for the the black conservative. He ran for president and he had a talk show from
Well,
Georgia.
Walter U. Williams,
No, 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 no,
Larry
no, no.
Elders.
He was from Georgia.
Oh, yes, he was,
He ran.
Carson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was it Carson?
Yeah.
No, he ran. Was it Papa John's
Oh,
Pizza?
Godfathers. I think I
Or
know.
Godfather's? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
We had him in the morning, and
Herman
then he
Cain.
Herman Cain. Thank you, God. Well, anyways, I think Brian Kilmeade took over for Herman Cain, and then Mark Kay took over the Rush Limbaugh spot here.
Uh,
So, and I like Mark Kay's okay. He's not Rush Limbaugh, but I like Kilmeade. He's okay too. But I liked Herman Cain better. You know,
I was
but
listening to Bongino for a while because of where that station was on iHeartRadio. I had a lot of buffering issues with that station. I just finally
right,
said, screw it. I just won't listen to radio for a couple hours and then listen to Mandy Connell in the afternoon from noon to 3. And she's
yeah, and then
also libertarian leaning Republican.
right. Well, we've got after that we got the evening news, and then we got the Dana show, which took over for I don't know, the guy that he was always talking about business and how to save money, and he was
Oh, Larry Kudlow.
no, not him. It was another guy. That's
Oh,
oh God, my mind's gone blank. Anyways,
we're all trying to guess who it is.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. He always talked about, whether you should have a Roth IRA or this or that. And he
Right.
always talked about which credit card companies were good to use. But he also came out and spoke out against it. The only time he ever got political, and he spoke out against Donald Trump one time, and it pretty much ruined him. Within the year, he was off the show. He finally retired,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
and, uh, but he does a lot with, Habitat for Humanity stuff, and
Okay.
he still comes to Tulsa every so often and helps build a home there because this conservative talk show station does put a lot into that, so which is a good thing. Yeah, we've kind of gone over, haven't we?
Yeah, we're just a tad over an hour. We're in an hour and 10 minutes. Neil Cavuto, is that the guy?
Nope. Neil Cavuto was from Fox,
Yeah.
Fox News, or Fox Business. And
All right, everybody in the chat, thank you for coming. And Lloyd, any last words?
well, no, you know what I always say: be kind, treat each other better than you treat yourselves. Remember, old farts, conservative old farts like us, we all matter. Even conservative old farts like us. All hell with it. Goodbye, everyone.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a great week and catch you next time. Bye bye and God bless.